This is Colin Dijs, and in this video I will show you how to make money with native advertising during the optimization phase. So a week ago I did the testing phase, which is very important to watch if you haven't watched that one already, because we will build upon that video to go to the second stage, optimization, and then we'll finish with the third one in the next video, scaling. So optimization is obviously where the most money is made. This is where we decide on what to do and what not to do to get to those profits. Right? With native ads, very lucrative because we have a lot of assets available and we need to pick what works and how we should apply the theory in order to make that possible. So in the testing phase, we have done creatives, and we have started the initial testing procedure. Parallel will go into optimization, right? Which is my own rule, Colin Dijs CPA rule. So we will apply either 1 time, 1.5 time, or 2 time, depending on your cash flow, CPA. Whereas CPA is payout in this scenario, right? So what is very important to note is that we test this per widget, right? This is the point where we want to achieve maximum efficiency and effectivity, right? We need to find the balance herein. Very important is that we do not want to overspend on the actual testing nor underspend. So we have to optimize this structure, whether to find the balance between what we actually want to achieve and how much we can afford to lose during this process. Because we all know not every campaign will be a profitable one, a big winner, right? So we apply the CPA rule to the widget level. We apply it to the widget level because that is where the traffic will come from, right? The placement. If you use in-app traffic, sometimes it will refer to as application, but I will call it placement, right? So it will include all the different placement options available, and whether your source calls it widget or not, that's what I refer to. All right, so why wouldn't we want to overspend? It's very important. So overspend would mean emotional decision making, right? In a scenario where we overspend, you believe there is traction where it will not be. Underspending is also the same situation. Whether you over or underspend, it's the same structure. You're being emotional about the data because in your head you have an idea of what you would like to see, a desired outcome, right? However, the desired outcome is not actually what it realistically is. So we say what we say is always follow the data, right? Because the data will tell you're buying this data with the intent to use it, but you don't. You make your decisions based on emotions. If you follow the data and therefore apply the CPA rule, you cannot go wrong, right? Okay, now the question is, what should I use? I recommend most beginners to use 1-time CPA. It will keep the budget nice and consistent depending on what type of payout you have. So generally, I would like to go for tier 1 payouts, anything between 45 and 600 when you're into the crypto, or usually the max for any other offers, let's say 150, right? When we go into tier 2, it's already significantly less. So it's, let's say, 12 to maybe 40. All right, and then tier 3, which we don't necessarily run that often on native, maybe $1 to $10, right, or 1 to 12. So it fits properly. So this is a good indicator of what you might expect to use as a payout for these things. However, we do not necessarily know how many widgets there are. In that case, when you have a run on network, you need to run it, right? Or ask your AM. Run or ask AM, right? Account manager. In a scenario where you apply a whitelist, you have it, and when you have a blacklist, you also have the amount of placements, because I assume in that scenario you got it from your AM, right? In both scenarios here. So here you know the widgets. Why would we ideally want to know the widgets? Well, I'll tell you why. Because basically widget times CPA rule is budget. Okay, now there's a very important factor, right? I have to explain this a lot, But I will clarify the reason why we have an entire budget, which we might not spend on the campaign. Let's say I give you an example, okay? Let's say we have 100 widgets, or let's say we have 1,000, which is more common on native, right? At a $45 CPA, right? We would have to spend $45,000, yeah? That's a lot of money, right? However, let's say we spend maybe, let's say $1,000, no conversions, something is wrong, right? Either your ads are not good, your lender is not good, the offer is not good. And with $1,000, you should have properly been testing this if you executed our testing phase correctly. Again, if you don't know how to completely set up the testing phase properly, go ahead and watch that video first. $1,000 no conversions, we're not going to let it run until $45,000. We're going to kill it, the campaign, take our learnings of what went wrong and try again with a different campaign. In odd cases, we will adjust the campaign, launch it again, but this is unlikely, right? Because you know you've done something wrong. When we talk about maximum efficiency and maximum effectivity, we wouldn't launch a campaign where we know there are improvements to be made, right? We would already have the best creatives, we would already have the best headlines. If not, then you're just doing something, right? You're not taking this serious, and of course you're going to spend more money, which again, we don't want to underspend, we don't want to overspend. That's why we use these rules. It's all quite simple. Once you hear it, now when you apply it, it will become a lot more difficult because there's so many moving parts. Okay, so this to clear up the question, do I need to spend my entire budget on the campaign? I've only done $100, no conversions. You do want to give it some room, right? So if you have $45,000 as the budget on the campaign, which you might not even have, don't spend $200, no conversions, kill the campaign. You do have to give it some realistic room. Maybe 20 times CPA would be normal, right? You would have 20 conversions, now you have 0, only 1, something is not working. And if you've done it correctly, which sometimes you don't because you just don't simply have the experience that me and other affiliates have, right? You haven't seen the data. So when you pause the campaign, review all the data assets, then which basically comes from testing into the optimization parallel, then you will notice that there's a lot of opportunity there, right? Okay. Well, then we have another option, right, which we call deep optimization, which is an additional step as soon as the widgets have been completed, because we have other metrics. Well, let me continue here first. So operating system and operating system version are quite important. Usually they'll have additional results. So first of all, in the hierarchy, it's always widgets, right? Widgets and anything drop down on widgets, right? Which is like sub ID settings, sub ID placements, anything there. Then we look at operating systems, operating system versions. We might look at browsers or browser versions, right? Might be included. What else do we have? Things like languages, governing parameters like what's it called, connection type, those kind of things. They all belong, all the other variables belong to the deep optimization. Personally, I don't even look at browsers that much. I would cover it under deep optimization. Here you will create a big one. Okay. So what we definitely don't want to do is kill the reach, because then you can't scale. So on the deep optimization, you will have tree-like assets, right? So you'll have connection type, which is interlinked with the operating system versions, with the country, the time of day, all these other parameters, right? When you kill one off, the entire tree branch dies, which basically, instead of wiping out that one asset, you wipe out everything behind it, and then it will definitely give you problems to scale later. So in the deep optimization, I would recommend you to do this once the campaign is profitable, or what you make is a squeeze campaign, right? Which I'm not going to elaborate on how that works because it's quite advanced and it's more premium based content. But it's one of my favorite topics, squeeze campaigns, right? This is when a campaign will not become consistently profitable and you're trying to take as much profit as possible without the campaign dying, and it will die sooner or later over time, so it will never reach a scaling stage, but you will have to make money from it anyway, right? And the reason that the native optimization is so simple is solely because there's very little to apply, right? The budget runs to get the data. Well, let me just remove this for a second because I assume you guys know this. So all that happens is budget gives us data, right? And the data gives us decisions based on theory. It's literally like this, you know? Then the question is, oh, well, Colin, how come I run campaigns and don't make money? Because there's one important metric, which is skill, right? Skill is effort times time times experience, right? And effort times time will be the equivalent of experience. So I'll just put this one between brackets there. And that skill is very important, which I see most of you guys lack. One of my favorite tools, topics to talk about is the use of spy tools and their complete shit software, how it works. Anybody on my private coaching knows, and there's hundreds of people down there right now, no spy tools whatsoever. You know, I never use spy tool. Sometimes I do for YouTube to make an illustrative argument. However, in general, anybody who's been on my coaching less than 3 months, we do not use spy tools. After that, it might suit a specific purpose, but beginners do not understand this purpose or cannot grasp the concept, which might sound very cool and mysterious, but it's not. They're just very expensive tools with little to no benefit in the early stages once you have no experience, right? The skill definitely will influence this process, right? The problem that what you're missing most of the time, oh, my bad, I want to highlight this. How do I highlight this? There we go. Oh, I cannot, I think, highlight. Yeah, I will highlight everything. Okay, that's not good. Well, decisions is what I need to highlight. So budget, data, everybody can do this, right? Spend money, get data. Whatever, even if your campaign is totally trash, you'll get the data. Then on the data, you make decisions, which is the difficult part because they're based on theory, which will lead you to the money. So the theory you need to understand, and I've drafted it out for you, right? It's not that difficult. Use the CPA rule, blah, 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 and then draft skill. And skill, the effort and time and experience are usually the biggest parts because now that's the implementation of the theory, right? Which theory is boring. Theory will not get you much, but it's the foundation of everything, right? And I offer you my theories for free, which I know 100% worked. You know, I've trained over 21,000 companies, individuals included in that, using these media buying strategies. So the reason I draft them myself, you can put all these theories in YouTube and you'll get specific videos on them because they work, right? They're very simple to understand. There are obviously advanced mechanics to them, but they work. And the optimization on native, the question how to make money using native advertising is a very simple answer. Follow the steps I've shown you, right? Look at the elements, use your brain, do follow the theories, and in addition to that, there is some extra additional room for you to use your brain and make decisions. Do not let your emotions control it. Look at the data and make decisions based on that data. If you do that successfully, you'll end up here in the scaling phase, and that's what we're going to talk about next. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions, feel free to drop it down in the comments below. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.